Put on your videos. I would like to see you all. अरिहंत सिद्ध सुर उपाध्याय साधु सर्व अर्थ के प्रकाशी मांगलिक उपकारी है। तीन को स्वरूप जानी रागते भई जो भक्ति काय को नमाय स्तुति को उच्चारी है। धन्य धन्य तुम्ही से काज सब आज भयो कर जोरी बारंबार वंदना हमारी है। मंगल कल्याण सुख ऐसो हम चाहते ओ मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। ओ मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। So welcome back to the Das Lakshan Dharma classes. We had completed nine dharmas. Okay. The 10th and the last one, Uttam Brahmacharya. Supreme celibacy. That is left to be discussed. And of course, there is then Shamavani. So I will be doing Shamavani tomorrow, and today we will see this supreme celibacy. Okay. Basically, in supreme celibacy, the author wants to explain two conditions. One is Atmalinta or self-absorbedness. And the other one is Panch Indriyo se Virakt. Means to move your attention from 5 sensory objects. Okay. So these are the two conditions required for practicing supreme celibacy. We'll read the definitions first. The first page itself, 2-3 definitions are given from different textbook. The first one is Angar Dharmamrit. To live in or to move in, to get absorbed in the Brahma, that is one's own pure self, is verily Brahmacharya. So Brahm plus Char, okay, that is Brahmacharya. So Brahm means pure soul and Charya means to get absorbed, okay, to put it in conduct, that is called Brahmacharya. As it is said in Angara Dharmamrita, the conduct, that is self-absorbedness in one's own soul of pure sentience nature, devoid of all other non-self objects, is verily called celibacy, Brahmacharya. Those who observe vow of celibacy, which is supreme amongst all vows, attain infinite bliss. So in the very first paragraph, the author is making clear what you are going to get by practicing supreme celibacy. You are going to attain eternal bliss, infinite bliss. Infinite bliss means there is no end. And the other meaning of infinite is, which is something which is we cannot measure, is called infinite. So the one who observes this vow of celibacy, which is the supreme amongst all vows, attain infinite bliss. So everyone is looking at bliss only, and for that purpose, everyone is studying only, because they want to know the process by which the bliss that is stored in us. Okay, we are the owner of those innumerable qualities, and still we are not able to manifest it. Such a tragedy, such a paradox, that even if we are in possession of infinite bliss, we are not able to experience it just because we don't know the process of how to get into it. So our all studies are directed at this direction only, that somehow you learn the tricks, apply it in your day-to-day life, and experience real-time eternal bliss. Okay, and when you are experiencing eternal bliss, of course the other passions does not rise only, and that is how we can conquer all the passions one by one and degree to degree. Okay, so first the intense one goes, then a little bit milder than that, then again milder than that, and the last stage is where there is no passion left over. It is totally vitratta, passionlessness, complete passionlessness. Similar interpretation of celibacy has been given in, I'll make you a co-host. Similar interpretation of celibacy has been given in Bhagavati Aradhana and Padmanandi Panchvishitika. So it is given in the footnote. The first one, the Jeev or the soul is Brahma. The soul itself is called Brahma. Be desisting from the service, slavery of the body. The conduct that appears in the self, Jiva itself, should be known as Brahmacharya or celibacy. Desisting means virakt. So desisting from the service of the body, the conduct that appears in the self, okay, that is called Brahmacharya. The second definition, which is from Padmanandi Panchvishitika. The meaning of the word Brahma is soul of pure consciousness nature, Shuddhatma. The name of getting absorbed in the soul is Brahmacharya. The saint Muni, whose mind is totally detached from his body, only possesses real celibacy. Okay, so it is the saint or the Muni Raj whose mind is totally detached from his body. Okay. The next page. Although absorbedness in one's own soul is verily Brahmacharya, nevertheless, until we know and believe our own soul, how would till then absorbedness in one's own soul be possible? That is why it is said that self-absorbedness, that is right self-conduct, appears only after attaining right self-belief and right self-knowledge. Also, the word Uttam, supreme, prefixed with Brahmacharya, indicates the same thing, that along with right belief and right knowledge, the state of self-absorbedness, right self-conduct itself is Uttam Brahmacharya. So, getting the right faith or the right belief is the first step towards getting Uttam Brahmacharya. And once you have acquired the right faith, then again right knowledge, and then comes the right conduct, which is itself is brahmacharya or celibacy, supreme celibacy. Hence, it is clear that from the real standpoint of view, nischay point of view, to believe, to know as the only conscious and blissful nature of the self soul as one's own. So what is our nature? So our nature is only conscious and blissful nature. So our nature is full of bliss. Okay. So we don't have to go anywhere to get that bliss. We have to just unlock it. Okay. Because of our ignorance and not having the right knowledge, that is there inside us, but it is locked. Now we need to have that key to that locker and put on the key and open the box and enjoy it. That's much. You don't have to manifest it or reproduce it or manufacture it, nothing like that. It is there. It is there. You have to just know the tricks of unlocking it. So what is the trick of unlocking it? In the first place, the trick is first to know yourself, then to have the right faith, and then concentrate on that, focus on that. That is the right conduct. And this is how you are able to unlock the treasure that you have in yourself and experience eternal bliss. Okay? So each of us, not only some people who are only studying or who has access to this true Dev Shastra Guru, but all the souls, even 1 sense, 2 sense, 3 sense, whatever it may be, all the souls are in possession of infinite qualities. Okay? Even if we had been to hell, we had been to subhuman state, still our qualities are the same. Not a single quality has been lost. Okay? And not a single particle of karma has entered in us. Okay? So this information only gives us such a relief that even if we had been to hellish being, nothing of ours has been destroyed. We are fully as it is, as we were in that hellish being, and we will be the same when we attain liberation. Okay? The qualities will remain same, not a single more or single less. So the experience, that is, there is going to be a difference in the experience. Okay? So now the mundane soul is suffering from all kinds of miseries. And when he is able to realize himself, okay, then the path of liberation starts and the experience of eternal bliss also begins. So that is the start of the whole path of liberation, and gradually moving ahead in the path of liberation, this soul attains complete purity in himself and then manifest omniscience knowledge, and then he attains Arihant Avastha, 13th stage of spiritual development, and then the 14th stage, and then liberated soul. Okay? And for time immortal, no, there is no end to that. He is enjoying complete eternal bliss. So you always, listening to this kind of talk, you always feel motivated that if it is in me, then why am I not able to experience it? Okay? If you are in possession of 1 crore rupees, then why are you living in a beggar state? Okay, that is the question. Just because that beggar does not know that he is having 1 crore in his bank. You have read the story of Karodpati Rickshawala? No, it's a Nakar Mantra. Yeah, Namokar Mantra book. You had read this story of Karodpati Rickshawala. Dr. Bharilji has written it so nicely, and that example fits here. That in spite of having possession of infinite qualities, just because of not having that knowledge, people are suffering in all the 4 state of existence, and they never experience themselves. So that's a big tragedy. And Brahmacharya says that it is the self-absorbedness that is called supreme celibacy. That is why it is said that self-absorbedness, okay? No, this one is over. Hence, it is clear. No, the same paragraph, okay. The meaning of the word brahmacharya as understood nowadays is very general, hypothetic, not the true sense, not in the true sense. Nowadays, only Vyavhar Brahmacharya, conventionally so-called celibacy, in the form of giving up copulation, that is abstaining from enjoying the object of touch sense, is treated as brahmacharya. So this is the present situation, that this is the first point that we are discussing, this paragraph, the meaning of the word brahmacharya. From there, the first point starts. So we'll be highlighting first that brahmacharya does not mean just living that act of copulation or the touch sense. That much is not brahmacharya. Okay, brahmacharya has another aspect, which is the positive one, and that is the self-absorbedness. That is the real brahmacharya. That is brahmacharya from the Nischay. And this is a Vyavhar brahmacharya. Okay, that too not giving up of all the objects of touch sense, but only giving up of the particular activity of copulation is termed as brahmacharya. Whereas the enjoyment of touch sense is possible in various ways. So it is not only that, there is a wider meaning to that touch sense. The object of the touch sense are of 8 types. Okay, cold, hot, hard, soft, rough, smooth, light, and heavy. So these are the 8 characteristics of a touch sense. Okay, feeling pleasure in the object of these 8 types is nothing but enjoying the objects of touch sense only. Enjoying the pleasure of cooler in summer and of heater in winter is assuredly the enjoyment of touch sense. We put a fan, that is also touch sense. Then we use soft bed, soft sofas, soft cushions, hard seats. Even in the car, people nowadays spend huge money in changing the chair from where they drive, you know. And we have a showroom here. There is a kind of market for all the accessories, cars accessories. There are around 15 shops in only one lane. And in that, one of the shop is marketing exclusively only the seats. And that also of all big luxurious cars. So there is a great demand for this kind of things. So basically people are mad after this touch sense. What is the importance of this touch sense? Why only touch sense? There are other four senses also, which is also a part of that enjoying the sensory objects only. But why touch is being highlighted? So these are some of the questions that we are going to discuss just now. So not giving up all the objects of touch sense, but only a particular activity is termed as brahmacharya, whereas the enjoyment of touch sense is possible in various ways. So there are 8 types. Example given is enjoying the pleasure of cooler in summer, heater in winter, then feeling pleasure in the use of soft cushion and hard seats, and feeling delight in the touches of rough, smooth, light, and heavy objects. All these are objects of touch sense. I am still on page number 170. Okay. But those who consider themselves as brahmacharis, celibates, have never given attention towards this fact that all these are the objects of touch sense, and they will have to give up the belief, notion that there is happiness in these things also, and they ought to refrain from these objects also. So in the first place, it is necessary to have the right belief. And once you have the right belief, then you can refrain from this sensory objects and concentrate in yourself. And from there only you are going to experience happiness. You are going to experience content. Okay? And you are going to experience satisfaction. That is very important. Even if you indulge in 5 sensory objects, but you never get satisfied. You see a movie for 2 hours, 3 hours, and then you feel that is enough. And then you also realize that it was just a waste of time. My 3 hours has been lost. And still from that, you will jump to some other thing, then some other thing. So people keep on changing the sensory, different sensory objects. But since the belief is there that there is happiness in these objects, he is after this only. And he is changing the objects and he's getting that, I will get happiness from here, I will get happiness from here. But just as a deer in an oasis, he feels that there is a water, but actually it is reflection of the sun on the sand, which gives an impression that there is water there. And when he runs and reaches there, he sees there is no water. And still at another long distance, he sees that there is water and again runs there. And this way, he keeps on running in the heat and ultimately he dies. But he never is able to taste a single drop of water. Similarly, people have this illusion and delusion that there is happiness in sensory objects. And that's why the whole mass is after earning money so that they can buy these luxurious sensory objects and they can be happy. But there is not a single sensory object is having this quality of happiness in them. So how can you get happiness from them? Very logical. You have to think this and realize that there is no happiness in any of the sensory objects. And happiness is there in our soul only. So if we look within, we will experience eternal bliss. And if we look outside for happiness, we will be always disappointed. We can never enjoy any of the sensory objects permanently and continuously. Feeling pleasure okay. I'm in the previous page. Yeah, last paragraph. Feeling pleasures in the objects of these 8 types is nothing but enjoying the objects of touch sense only. Enjoying the pleasure of cooler in summer and heater in winter, okay, but we have done this. But those who consider themselves as brahmachari have never given attention towards this fact that all these are the objects of touch sense, and they will have to give up the belief that there is happiness in these things also, and they ought to refrain from these objects also. From this, it is proved that we don't consider the complete enjoyment of touch sense as the destroyer of celibacy, but consider the one particular activity only to be the destroyer of celibacy, and anyhow, simply abstaining from that activity of coition, people consider themselves as celibates. So, but it has got a wider meaning, and that we will see. Now the second point. If the name of self-absorbedness is brahmacharya, okay, if the name of self-absorbedness is brahmacharya, are then the objects of touch sense only the obstructing elements in the state of self-absorbedness? Are the objects of other 4 senses not the obstructing elements in the state of self-absorbedness? If those also are, then the renunciation of those objects should also be called brahmacharya. So these other 4 are also considered as an obstructing element in the state of self-absorbedness. So these are also to be renounced. Can immersion in the soul be experienced while relishing the taste of the tongue, sense? Likewise, can the soul be perceived while seeing the cinema? No, never. When the soul is indulged in the objects of any of the senses, self-absorption is not possible at that time. So long as one will not refrain from the inclination of indulging in the objects of the 5 senses, till then, self-absorption will not be possible. And so long as self-absorption is not there, till then, refraining from the tendency of indulging in the objects of the 5 senses will also not be possible. Thus, if in the negative sense, the cessation of the tendency of indulging in the objects of the 5 senses is celibacy, then in the positive sense, self-absorption is celibacy. So we need to have both the things. Self-absorption is also required from the positive sense, and renunciation of sensual pleasures is also required. So one is conventional brahmacharya and the other one is real brahmacharya. One is conventional celibacy and the other one is the real celibacy. So this was the second point. The third point, the next page, Acharya Uma Swami in Tattvat Sutra, second last paragraph. Yeah. In these sutras, listening to stories exciting attachment for women, looking at the beautiful bodies of women, recalling former sexual pleasure, relishing eating delicacies, adorning of the body, perverted sexual practice, are described to be the destroyer of celibacy. 1 minute. Huh? So this is the definition from the Tattvat Sutra, and this is from the conventional point of view. Okay. So from real point of view, there is only one thing, that is self-absorbedness. First you identify, have the right faith, then the right knowledge, and then the right conduct. That's all. This is from the real point of view. But from the conventional point of view, these are considered as supreme celibacy. If we continue to indulge irresistibly in the objects of the five senses and consider ourselves to be celibates simply by giving up cohabitation, then it is assuredly a fallacy. Okay. So people take up this kind of meanings and they just abstain from marrying and feel that they are brahmacharis. But actually brahmachari is the one who is really into self-absorbedness. Also, if we give up externally the objects of the five senses along with cohabitation, and also don't take the delicacies, even then, if celibacy is in the form of self-absorbedness is not evolved internally, then also we shall not become the true celibates. Hence, accompanied by self-absorbedness, which is the first and primary condition, the second is the renunciation of the objects of the five senses, is assuredly real celibacy. Okay. So this is the third point. Now moving on to the fourth point, next page. If the absence of indulgence in the affairs, page 174, yeah. If the absence, third paragraph, if the absence of indulgence in the affairs of the ear sense would have been termed as brahmacharya, okay, instead of touch sense, if we would have taken it as ear sense, then the fourth sense living being would have to be treated as celibates. Three sense living being, they also has to be treated as celibates, and even one sense being would have also be considered as celibates, because in the absence of the aforesaid senses in them, their indulging in the affairs of the senses is not possible. So it is not only the one who is abstained the touch sense, but it is all the senses. If you are abstaining, then only a true brahmacharya may rise. So there is no flaw in the statement that celibacy is the renunciation of indulgence in the affairs of the touch sense, because in the touch sense, all the other four are included. The fifth point, page number 175, next one. The four senses are positioned in the body in their individual separate regions, whereas the touch sense is inseparate, that is indivisible. It is throughout the body, okay? because the shape of the spatial units of the soul and the shape of the touch sense is equal and similar in size, but it is not so with the other senses. For attaining the unalterable, irrevocable state, it is essential to conquer the individual touch sense. The sixth point, next page, 176, page number 176. If the four senses, tongue, etc., are not there, are not functioning, even then the worldly life can be sustained, but not without the touch sense. Even if the eyes are lost, the ears may have got different. There is no difficulty in sustaining the life. But without the touch sense, the existence of worldly life cannot be thought of. Indulgence in the affairs of eyes, ears, and nose is not constant, but the touch sense is always functioning. When bad odor is felt, the nose can be closed. If loud sound is there, the ears can also be closed. Closing of the eyes is also possible. Thus, the eyes, the nose, and the ears can be closed if so desired. But how can the touch sense be similarly closed? It continues feeling the cold, hot, rough, smooth, hard, soft. The next point, the seventh one, the last paragraph of this page, 176. There is one more reason for the time-related divisibility of the four senses and the incessant indivisibility of touch sense. It is this, that the indivisible association of the touch sense is incessantly found from the beginningless time till today. Its association could not be abandoned even for a moment. It never happened that in the mundane existence, the soul could ever be found without the touch sense. But the remaining four senses are not always found with the soul from the beginningless time, because these were not there in Nigodh. Since the time these four senses got associated with the soul, innumerable times there has been come and quit relationship with them. Getting rid of this is neither difficult nor beneficial, but though to get rid of the touch sense is extremely difficult, it will be eternally beneficial if accomplished, because on getting dissociated from it, the jiva attains salvation or BTQ. If one's got rid of totally, then never again will the soul associate with it. Now the last point, one has to do the slavery of the four senses only occasionally. But we are all slaves of the touch sense from the beginningless time. Without getting rid of the slavery of this touch sense, the slavery of transmigration will not come to an end. Therefore, the conclusion, leave one paragraph, that it can be concluded that state of self-absorbedness achieved along with the renunciation of the five senses is real celibacy. Page number 177. Yeah, these three lines. Therefore, it can be concluded that the state of self-absorbedness achieved along with the renunciation of the five senses is real celibacy. So this is the complete definition, and this is what we were looking at. Now, there is some discussion on the sensory knowledge. Okay. So previously, we were discussing about the enjoyment of sensory objects, and now we are discussing about the sensory knowledge. The first point is starts from here. The world easily understands the talk about renunciation of the enjoyment, pleasures of the objects of the five senses. But when it is said that knowing, seeing through the media of the five senses is also not helpful, contributive in real celibacy of self-absorbedness, rather it is a hindrance. This is not accepted easily. Okay, getting involved, getting indulged in five sensory objects. Okay, and even if we say that these five senses, our knowledge, we are getting the knowledge through these five senses, through the medium of these five senses, and it is not helping us in real celibacy or self-absorbedness, rather it is a hindrance, it is a hurdle, it is stopping us from enjoying our eternal bliss. Okay, this is not accepted easily by the people at large. People wonder as to how can knowledge, that is sensory knowledge, same page, continuity, same paragraph, the world. Yeah. People wonder as how can knowledge, that is sensory knowledge, can also be a hindrance in brahmacharya. But they do not think over this, that the soul is a super sensitive, illustrious substance. How can it be known through the media of senses? Through the media of touch sense, only the tangible substance, that is matter, Pudgal, is known. So through the media of touch sense, only the tangible substance like Pudgal is known. And all the other senses also knows the Pudgal Dravya only. Our soul cannot be known by these five senses. Okay?
Sir, I want to ask a question here. Organ donation. So
Yeah.
because we are looking at senses, and I donation and I acceptance is such a common practice.
Right.
So in this perspective, what is the correct standpoint?
See, there are diverse viewpoints on this, and actually, frankly speaking, this technology was not at the time when these books were written. Okay.
No, this is fine, but now.
So now the like, if we look at from the practical point of view, it makes sense, because anyway that particular person has died, and if that his eyes or some other parts are used for other people, if they're getting alive, then from one perspective it is advisable.
So today only I was thinking about this, that we say no, शरीर तो वैसे भी हमारा नहीं है, तो जो हमारा नहीं है वो अगर हम if we are able to give to somebody, what is the harm? It is anyway not mine.
Right. So
but now,
so this is the one perspective, but then there is another.
From celibacy point of view, today only I thought about that, and then today you said that all five senses, any kind of indulgence is breaking is a hindrance over our path. Hello? Hello?
That day, you see, one after the other. And that is taking most of our time. So we need to understand this, and we need to stop indulging in these activities. Okay. But that is only possible when you are able to realize yourself, you are able to experience yourself, and if you are experiencing happiness from inside, then only these objects can be left over outside. So without the experience or without the right faith and right knowledge, there cannot be right conduct. Okay.
Right.
So in the first place, you have to have the correct understanding. And when you have the correct understanding, you know that these sensory objects have not the quality of happiness. So even because of your weakness at this stage of your life, you may indulge in sensory objects, even a samyak drashti, avirat samyak drashti, the fourth stage, like Chakravarti and all, they do get indulge in sensory objects, but they don't have the interest or the zeal to, indulge in those sensory objects. Okay. But because their capacity to absorb in themselves is not there, there is a weakness because he is in the fourth stage. Okay. So there is no reference from any of the sensory objects. Okay. He cannot refrain any of the sensory objects, and even he may not wish to indulge in those, but because of his weakness in absorbing in the self, he has to indulge in 5 sensory objects. So this is the tragedy. So we were coming to that question of yours. So from the traditional point of view, we never disturbed our dead body. We immediately cremate. We immediately, like within 48 minutes, we have to perform the last rites. Okay, and we have to burn that body, because after 48 minutes, Samurchan Jeev, Sangi Samurchan Jeev keeps on manifesting in that body. And the late you do it, wait for the persons to come by flight and then they take the body to the crematorium. That is not the correct way, because when you are burning that body after 8 hours, there are so many lives in it which has already been manifested there, and it is multiplying every moment. So the more you be delayed it, the more will be the violence. Okay. So like most of the people who are taking samadhi and who are knowledgeable, they plan it everything. They tell their children that the moment I die, you go to the crematorium within 48 minutes and burn my body. So that is the last wish of all the people who are deep into religion. They know that, like, we have already left the body. Now there is no point in holding it. So it should be done within 48 minutes. And that's all we try. If not in 48 minutes, then maybe 2 hours is at most that you can take. Okay. But ideally it should be 48 minutes. And in some cases where people are taking samadhi, they even arrange everything. There is a real story about a learned scholar. When his time came, his death was near, he arranged even the woods also. In those days there was no electric crematorium, so the people used to burn the body, by putting in all the plants, branches and all. So he arranged everything, and he left his body, and his sons and other people that took him to crematorium, immediately they performed these rites. So from that point of view, of course it is a kind of violence, and but since this offer was not there in earlier times, we don't have any authentic statement on this. So it is up to the individual person who is doing it according to his own understanding and his own interest. Okay, so there is nothing as such.
Sir, by giving these sensory organs, like, so we indulge in the nimit, we become the nimit for that person to get into wrong thoughts or whatever.
Yeah, indirectly, that is the logic that given that if my eyes are being used to do some wrong things. But I said ki when it is not yours, okay, how does it matter?
Right, sir.
So if you think logically, then it makes sense to donate. But still now, people are not coming forward in a big way to do this, and they feel that this should not be done. But as I said, there is no such confirm both viewpoints, diverse viewpoints are there. So we leave it to the individual. Now coming to the second point, yeah, today 9:15. So we still have 10 minutes to go. So we'll finish this one. The second point, page number 178, the second paragraph. Hence, the senses and the mind are not only unuseful in capturing, in grasping the supersensitive, emotionless soul, but are hindrances, are injurious, because so long as the soul continues knowing and seeing through the media of the senses and the mind, till then the perception of the soul, self-realization will not be possible. When there is no perception of the soul, the question of self-absorbedness does not arise. The third point, the next paragraph. The tendency of the senses is extroverted, and the soul gets captured only by introverted disposition, attention. The great poet Dhyanatraya has also written in Das Lakshan Pujan, Brahma Bhav Antar Lakho. Look inside. If the Brahm Sarup Atma, the soul which is an absolute mass of pure consciousness and bliss only. See, our soul is a mass of pure consciousness. Consciousness is knowledge and bliss only. Gyan or Anand, Swabhavi, is my actual nature, is to be realized. Okay, so you get a check of 1 crore rupees, but if you don't put it in the bank, how you are going to use that money? So it is like this, you have to realize it. Is to be realized. Look deeply inside without introverted attention. The soul is perceived, with introverted attention. The soul is perceived by peeping inside deep, because it is located inside deep. The tendency of the senses is extroverted, because they are instrumental in knowing, seeing the other non-self objects, but not the self. So all the doors of all the senses open only towards outside and not towards inside. This is also not seen, but what is outside, that is seen. Similarly, the tongue also does not take the test of the inside, but takes the test of the object coming from outside. Does the nose also take smell of the bad odor of the inside? When the same bad odor, finding an outside outlet, comes extremely in contact with the nose, only then the nose is able to receive it, feel it. The ears also hear how the matters of outside. The touch sense also is seen alert only towards the external cold and hot states of the material things. Are of extroverted proclivity. So this sensory knowledge is also not useful for us, but it is a hindrance for enjoying our eternal bliss. Now the fourth point and the conclusion, page number 180. Yeah, this is the fourth point. The mundane, non-omniscient soul can only know one thing in one unit of time, can get engrossed in only one object. Hence, when he is knowing the other not self objects, when he is knowing the other non-self object, is engrossed in the other non-self object at that moment. To know the self, to get absorbed in the self is not possible. So, our active consciousness or the upyog is focusing on only one thing at a time. So if it's focused external objects, then it is not possible to experience the self at the same time. And if it's experiencing the self, then knowing the sensory objects is not possible. Through the media of senses, neither the self can be known, nor can one get engrossed in the self. Hence, enjoying the other non-self object through senses is assuredly injurious, harmful to brahmacharya celibacy. Even knowing, seeing of the external objects through senses is a hindrance in brahmacharya. This is the conclusion. Thus, the objects of senses, whether those are enjoyable things or knowable things, all are enemies of brahmacharya. Okay? Enjoyable things means bhog, and the other one is knowable things, means gney padarth. Okay?
Sir? Sir, you said like the last line, even knowing and seeing things is a hindrance to celibacy. But sir, we also say like, have a knower doer, attitude to liberation.
We are talking about sensory objects and sensory medium. Okay? If we are doing, see, the knowledge is coming from the soul. That is very true. Okay? But if it is doing business through five senses and mind, then it is only sensory knowledge. Okay? And it is only sensory pleasure. Okay? What we are looking at is eternal bliss and eternal knowledge, which is not possible through these five senses and mind. Okay? Thus, the object of senses, whether those are enjoyable things, okay, or knowable things, all are enemies of brahmacharya, because those are, after all, the objects of senses. Indulging in both types of the object of senses is, after all, indulging, not getting rid of them. The self-absorbedness form of celibacy is the only means of getting rid of them. So, if your active consciousness is absorbed in the self, then at the same point of time, you cannot indulge in sensory objects. So you have only one way. The self-absorbedness form of celibacy is the only means of getting rid of sensory objects. So this was all in a nutshell about the supreme celibacy. And there is one more thing that I want to highlight. Coming onto the page number 183, we are above the time, but I'll just take 2 minutes, not 2 minutes, but 5 minutes. See, in the middle, the writer of Das Lakshan Puja has advocated the observance of both Nischay and Vyavhar in a balanced way. Okay. So, if we are able to strike a balance between a real point of view and conventional point of view, then we are going to enjoy this supreme celibacy. Okay. But if you are only indulging in the Vyavhar or the conventional point of view and not experiencing from the real point of view, then there is no brahmacharya at all. So here in Das Lakshan Pujan it is written, Sil Bad no Rak, Brahma Bhav Antar Lakho. So to adhere to the vows of celibacy, he protects his inner purity through 9 fences. This shil bad. Bad means fences. So as a farmer protects the field, crops standing on the field by putting fencing all around. Okay. So the animals cannot enter that field and his crops are protected that way. Okay. Similarly, we must protect our chastity. We must protest our chastity. It must be protected. We must protect our chastity by means of the 9 types of fencings, and should also perceive and realize our own soul in the inner self. So what are these 9 fences? Of course, we have read in Tattvagyan part 1. I think it was in that chapter of 11 pratimas. Okay. In the Brahmacharya Pratima, these 9 fences were given. The first one is not to stay close to opposite gender. The second one is not to see the opposite gender lustfully or avoiding attachment of all sorts. The third point is not to have any conversation with them, even through letters or other media. The fourth one is not remembering the past moments of pleasure. The fifth one is abstaining from eating aphrodisiac food items. If you eat kheer, okay, and then you start meditating, you will feel sleepy. Okay, so you should eat very light foods if you are planning to sit for meditation. The sixth one is refrain from wearing attractive clothes, ornaments, decoration. Okay, so refraining from wearing attractive clothes, ornaments, decorations of the body such that it invokes desires in others. So this is something we need to understand it deeply, what is the use? So we should be wearing very decent dresses and even ornaments and decorations. So these are all going to take away our supreme celibacy. The seventh point, not to sit or sleep on a sitting place or bed used by opposite gender. Eighth point, avoid listening to lustful music, songs, instruments, stories, etc. And number 9, eat less than required. So these are all the 9 fences, and this is going to protect your inner purity, and you can practice whatever vows of celibacy that you have undertaken. So this is the end for about supreme celibacy. There are other some points, but these were the main points that we already discussed. So now with the last Uttam Brahmacharya, now you know that the primary target of yours should be to first manifest right belief and right knowledge, and then concentrate on the self. This is the path of liberation in a nutshell. Very short and sweet. Only one line. First of all, you acquire right faith, then right knowledge, right faith or right belief, then right knowledge and right conduct. Okay. So this was all about Uttam Brahmacharya. And it is said that if you are able to capture the touch sense, all other senses can easily be captured. But we are not looking at only winning over those winning over those senses, but we are looking at self-absorbedness. So if the self-absorbedness is there and in the outside you are able to abstain from sensory objects, then it is Uttam Brahmacharya. But if the right belief is not there, then it is not Uttam Brahmacharya. So both things are required. So you need a balance between the real and the conventional point of view. Okay. So abstaining from sensory objects is Brahmacharya from the conventional point of view, and absorbing in themselves is Brahmacharya from the real point of view. So we need to have a balance of both in our life to get the optimum result. So this was all about the 10th religion, and tomorrow we will be doing Shama Vani. That is also very good. That is the last chapter on this book, and I may not be able to teach you word by word the whole book, but I have never. But nevertheless, I have taken the important. Very, very useful. Each of the 10 religion is teaching you to practice discriminative knowledge. Okay. So it is about winning of passions. So this was very good, and I am very I'm a big fan of this book of Dr. Bharilji, and the other one is Bara Bhavna. I really enjoy whenever I read it again and again. I still feel that there is enough in this, and I'm still knowing new things. So you should also read it yourself once or twice, if time permitting, but at least once is what I would recommend. And now you will be able to understand all the concepts also about this Das Dharma, because we have already taken the main points and highlighted it. So tomorrow we'll be doing the Samavani and completing this, and then we will move on to Tattvagyan part 2, which is paper 3 in this session. And there is also one chapter, another book, small book, Nimit Upadan. Okay, so that is also a part of our syllabus. And we have a chapter on Nimit Upadan in Tattva Gyan Part 2. So we'll combine both, and most probably this will be taught by someone else. Okay. She's a student of mine, but she wants to teach once in English because she have never practiced English. But she is a very good content writer. And so if she is able to come, she has this wish to teach. And when this chapter will come into study, we'll see that we will give her a chance. Okay. And you will really enjoy his teachings, her teachings. She's a lady. So anyway, let's see if it materializes or not, I don't know. But we will try. So this is all for today. If you have any questions, you can ask me on personal chat